Waiting for Tanner Cherney to jump on here with us. Thanks for jumping on, Michael.
All right, can you hear me now, Jordan?
Oh my gosh, Tanner, I got audio, my man.
It worked.
Dude, I just turned off my phone and turned it back on. I don't know what's going on. It was definitely on my end. Ohio Bowhunters, thanks for jumping on.
At least it's working now.
Oh, I know. I was a little worried there. We're definitely having some technical difficulties. That's okay, though. All right, let me get set up here. And so, everybody, this is my friend Tanner Cherney, Peak Productions up in North Dakota, around Devil's Lake area. But you're kind of all over the place. But your office is at Devil's Lake, right?
Well, it's kind of mobile, but I've made the move to Bismarck now in the last few months, so I'm getting a little more located.
Nice, perfect.
Yeah.
Dude, we got a good viewership up in Bismarck. It's one of our hit towns for our cable viewership. Bismarck has been great for us, so that's awesome. That is awesome.
Absolutely. Well, my buddy Kelvin, he lives down here, and he's one of your biggest fans, and he has been watching you guys since day one.
Calvin's my guy, man. I want to do another duck hunt with you guys this year. So we did a duck hunt a couple years ago, everybody, with Tanner and Calvin up at Devil's Lake. And it was pretty awesome, except for the fact that I got food poisoning on the second day. That sucked.
Yeah, that was a bummer.
but the duck hunting was great. And then we fished last summer up in Devil's Lake, and that was phenomenal as well. And Tanner is one of the best fishermen I've ever fished with. Tanner, that's a lot of pressure on you.
I don't know if I'd say best, but hey, you know how outdoor industry goes, whether it's hunting or fishing. Like, you have good days, you have bad days, and some days you just got to make do with what you can. And at the end of the day, I think I'd rather be a lot luckier than have the skill, because of the fact that luck seems to follow a lot of these different things we do between hunting and fishing.
Right. Dude, I'll tell you what. When did you get started fishing, though?
Oh, gosh. I've been fishing since I could barely hold a pole. That was like my dad and my escape. We always went fishing. The hunting came later in life, but the fishing was probably since I was 5 or 6 years old.
Okay, awesome. So you've been fishing for a long time. I know you put us on a ton of fish in the 24 hours we were out.
And it was one of those things, too, where you didn't get to just see like an absolute amazing day. Like, we had to work for a while there. We went out the night before, and there was probably, 20, 25-mile-an-hour winds, and I had a couple spots where I really wanted to take you guys out to, and it just happened to be that the wind was from the wrong way, and we weren't that comfortable getting over there. And A, it was a little rough, and B, for camera work and stuff like that, probably wouldn't have been the greatest. So we went to a new spot and plucked away and caught a few fish. And the next morning we went out and we must have spent, 8 to 10 hours in the water that day. And it was a beautiful August day. I remember how warm it was. Yeah. But we probably went through a half a dozen spots before we kind of put together a pattern and figured out from there, what the fish were liking. And you got to witness firsthand on how you can have a beautiful bluebird day, calm weather, and the bites, okay. And then we had probably about an hour and a half window there where the wind picked up to about 10 miles an hour. We had a ripple come across the water, and that was when the fishing just went lights out like that for that hour.
Mashed it in that hour. Caught some good fish. It was good. I still need to get out there for some northerns, though.
Oh, maybe this winter we could get you out on the ice a little bit out there.
Dude, I'd love that. I'm hoping we can schedule a duck hunt again or some kind of waterfowl play with you guys this year. Thanks for jumping on. So, dude, just to give the viewers, a little bit of our fan base, some context, just tell them who you are, where you're from. Let's hear a little bit about your origin story, I guess, and how from how you kind of got started in the outdoors to all the way to where you are right now, kind of your 5-minute rundown.
Absolutely. So, of course, my name's Tanner Cherney. Currently with Peak Productions. It's a company I started here about 6 months ago. But so I was born and raised in Devil's Lake, North Dakota, kind of in the heart of the Central Flyaway. For those of you that love fishing, of course, we have world-class walleye fishing up there. And grew up there and worked in the state park for a few years, while I was going to college and high school. Just trying to stay there as much as I could to enjoy the outdoors. Ended up becoming a fishing guide up there for a summer and kind of got a liking to that, and had all intentions, when I got done with college, until I found the right job that I really wanted to do, that was what I was going to do, is be a fishing guide and learn and take people out and just create those memories that we're all so keen on creating out there in the outdoors. And lo and behold, the month I was graduating from college, there happened to be a job that popped up in Devil's Lake for the local tourism industry there at the Convention and Visitors Bureau. And so I applied for the job. And for those that don't know me from previous, I used to be a pretty shy guy, and when they interviewed me for the job, they were a little leery on whether they wanted to hire me. They knew I was so quiet, and like, am I going to be a great spokesperson for that kind of stuff? So, long story short, I started up there back in 2014 and worked there for 5 years, and that's how I kind of got connected with Jordan. There was actually, it was kind of on a whim that I found you. We were I've been following Run to Gun for a long time, and we've been Instagram friends for probably 3 years.
Yep.
And it just happened to be that I was going to a sports show down in Omaha, and I was overnighting in Sioux Falls, and I was just reached out to him like, hey, I'm coming through your neck of the woods, and happened to go out and grab some pizza that night and kind of just hit it off and created a friendship and just a partnership with Run to Gun in Devil's Lake. And I worked at Devil's Lake for 5 years and created a lot of relationships like that in the outdoor industry. And probably about 3 years ago, I really got this passion for my camera, videography and photography, and just really wanted to roll with that. And don't get me wrong, I love hunting, I love fishing, but part of my fun too is sitting behind the camera and watching the other people do it and capturing them in the outdoors. And so after 5 years at the tourism office in Devil's Lake, this last spring, I made the leap to start my own company called Peak Productions. And what I am going to be doing that now is focusing in the outdoor industry, capturing, like, one of the things I thought about was when I went elk hunting with my dad the last couple of years, and you know, everyone loves photos at the end of a hunt, but how cool would it be to have someone follow you along with your father-son, father-daughter for those once-in-a-lifetime hunts, and not only just have a photo to look at the end of the trip, but, you know, a 20-minute video of a mock TV show, because everyone's always wanted to be like that 15 minutes of fame. And so my idea with the company is, A, to work in the different industries and create videos and photos for TV shows, tourism entities, magazines, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But also provide that one-on-one for father, sons, brothers, whoever wants a camera guy or a videographer to follow them on these trips and capture those moments so they have that to watch for the rest of their life.
Dude, well, it's like, go ahead.
As I say, that's kind of the blow-by-blow, quick 3-minute rundown on my history and how I've kind of come to where I'm at now.
Sure. Well, dude, and it's awesome because how you got started when you went into the tourism industry and you kind of had that as your, I mean, you already got a taste of the outdoors with the state park and the fishing guide, so you're getting into it. But then the tourism industry made you really climb out of your shell. And what's cool is that you kind of had this natural, like, I call it get it when it comes to engaging in social media and you know, digital, whatever it is, was the fact like what you were doing for Devil's Lake and growing their following and interacting, and actually not just like posting a photo, but like what you did for their digital marketing was like that stuff that everybody else should be doing with their business, no matter how big, no matter how small. If huge companies were doing that, they'd see insane growth. And that's the things you were doing within their digital marketing on a daily. And like your fishing reports, all this cool stuff, just the way you did it was nobody else is doing that. And there should have been a lot of companies doing it. I think that's why we connected so well on social media, because we were doing kind of similar stuff with how we were promoting our companies. And then, you know, smart for what you did. You built all this quality work, this book of work, all this experience when you were there, and then started your own company. And you can dive right into it because you essentially know what you're doing. You know, you have a great build, and so now you're doing it. And I love the concept. You know, I just posted that Flashback Friday last week, and then I dove in. So a photo of a deer I shot back in 2009, jumped into my dad's archive of videos, and we talk about how, like, hey, you're trying to do, whether it's professional videos for a tourism department or a magazine, online magazine, whatever it is, all the way to the everyday guy, you know, father and son going on a hunt. Like, if people need to understand, there's nothing better than documentation of a moment in time. Like, I have this clip, my dad turning on the camera with me with this big deer out 2009, and I can pull it out and I can post it today as a memory. Like, that stuff you cannot put a value on that. And so more guys, as you know, that's getting more popular. I think you're just going to continue to see value in what you're doing and what you're offering guys to do. Like, they need to hop on board, document, have somebody follow you with that camera. So, you guys still got audio? All right, Tanner.
Your audio's being a little funky there.
Is it a little glitchy? Can you hear me now?
A little bit.
Okay. Tell us about. Okay,
Yes.
you just went to Alaska. You just went to Alaska. Insane trip. Tell us about that.
Yep. So yes, Alaska. That was, I mean, I'm surprised I'm back here in North Dakota after that, just because of the insane, like the amount of experiences you get to learn up there. So we went up to Alaska for a week, spent a few days up in the small town of Seldovia doing some halibut fishing. Spent a couple days up in King Salmon, up on the Naknek River salmon fishing. And it's one of those things, like, you get so used to the stuff around here. You get used to the walleye fishing, the perch fishing, the pheasant hunting. But up there, it's like a whole new world. You step outside the door and it's like there's everything from trout streams and the ocean and the mountains. And it's just, it was truly once in a lifetime experience. We ended up catching, I think we caught about 20 or 30 halibut the second day we were out. The first day got to be a little rough. We were kind of bouncing around out in the ocean about 10 miles from shore, and everyone was kind of on the verge of, like, no one ever got seasick, but to that point where it was uncomfortable, and everyone just decided to take a nap on the drive back in to kind of sleep it off. And we got out the next morning and spent probably about 6 hours out there. And I mean, you know what it's like fishing with an 1.5 ounce bottom bouncer. At times, like after 2 hours, you think, oh my gosh, it's getting a little heavier, dragging this at 1.5 miles hour. But up there, we're fishing with anywhere from 3 to 5 pound weight in 170 feet of water, jigging
Crazy.
it. And we were using electronic reels, which I'm like, at first I was like a little leery about. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cheating, isn't it? And after the first halibut, I'm like, I don't know how you do it without an electronic reel, because you're reeling in from 200 feet, caught this thing called a skate that was probably 6-7 feet wide. It looks like a stingray. And I caught 3 back to back. It probably took me, the first one to reel in, 35 minutes. The next one was like 20 minutes. I was completely spent after that for the day. They just drain you. And then we ended up doing a split trip. So like I said, we went to Seldovia and then King Salmon. And King Salmon is where we got to go fish for the sockeye. And they were talking about up there how there's, in this river, half the world's sockeye salmon are caught. They estimate about 44 million salmon are caught in this river, and another 40 or 50 million escape. And that's between commercial fishermen, sport fishermen like we were doing up there. And what we did was basically you would take a little skiff John boat up the river from fish camp, go a few miles up the river, find a shoreline where there's a little bit of a slack current. And we were using fly rods. And the cool thing about it was, so this river, they don't allow live bait. And so we're fishing with a fly rod and a bear hook and a split shot. And they call it flossing. And it makes me think of like the floss dance, of course. So you cast upstream, you let that split shot hit the bottom, and your line is just kind of floating downstream like this. And you look down and you're in a foot of water standing there with waders, and you just got sockeye salmon running across you like crazy, hundreds at a time. And you're hoping, because these salmon are plankton eaters, so as they're swimming upstream, their mouths are constantly doing this, eating the plankton. And you're hoping that your leader of your line, when you come across them, goes right into their mouth, and when it hits the corner, the hook catches in. So you're technically snagging, but it's not as easy as it looks. When there's, excuse me, a couple hundred salmon coming by you, and the people you're with are just catching fish left and right, and you're over there like, what am I doing wrong? I can't hook into a fish here at all. So we did that for 2.5 days, which was absolutely amazing just to see that up there. And the first morning, I will never forget my first sockeye I caught. They were telling us about there was a brown bear with five cubs up there, which they're like is super rare. And they assume that she ended up taking on a couple cubs of her own, because they're like, I don't know if it's possible for her even to have 5. And as I'm hooked into my first salmon, the mom stands up about 50 yards across the river, lets out this roar, and her cubs are playing and walking down the shoreline. And so that was one of those experiences you'll never forget. And the last day of our trip, we went up to Katmai National Park, which was one of the coolest places ever. They have the Brooks Falls up there, which you probably have seen a few of the photos I've shared this last week on the bears sitting up in the waterfall, grabbing the salmon that are jumping up there. And our guide was like, do you guys want to experience the trip of a lifetime? And I was a little leery, but at first he kind of worked us through it. But what he did is he dropped us off the waterfall there. And basically we fished next to the brown bear, 30, 40 yards away with these 10, 11-foot brown bears, and we're catching rainbow trout. And up there, there's so many salmon. Like I said, that 44 million, they don't have a care in the world. They're not fighting for food. They don't have competition. So they just have a rule up there where if you get a bear gets within 50 feet of you, you got to break your line because they see the fish flop and they assume, okay, free dinner. So we probably had a half a dozen that morning that we had to break off because they got a little close. But other than that, it was, I mean, you're catching a fish, you look over and there's a brown bear eating a salmon 60 yards away from you. You're just like, and our guide looks at us and he goes, now, if this was in Anchorage or anywhere else, like, you should be running for the hills. But because of where we're at, it's one of the only places probably in the world that you can actually safely fish next to the animals without having to worry about yourself or them. And the neat thing about that whole area is just how remote you really are. I mean, very little cell service. You're in the middle of nowhere. Float planes are about all you can do to get up there. So it's just, that was added to the fun of it. So yeah, we ended up bringing back some halibut and salmon, and this smile on my face is still from that trip.
Yeah, of course. You know, I got to experience a lot of your story already through your photos that you've posted. Where can people find, you know, a lot of these photos that you've already been posting from this trip?
So a lot of that stuff is going to be on my website, which is, so for Peak Productions, it's www.gopeakpro.com.
Okay.
And then I have Peak Productions LLC, like our Instagram page here, and then also on Facebook is where all that content will be found at.
Okay, awesome. So talk a little bit about Alaska. Are you going to post, do you have video story of any of that stuff coming out?
I do. So the plan is I'm actually leaving here in 2 days to go to Canada to film up on Lac Seul for a father-son group up there for muskie and walleye fishing. And I've started the Alaska video, and I've got about half of it done. So the goal is next week to have the Alaska video out on Peak Productions' website and social channels.
Sweet. Okay, so everybody be looking for that. I can't wait to see that.
I'm excited. It's one of my favorite I've ever put together.
How if you can share, is it long form content? Is it short form content? A little bit of both?
It'll be kind of more of a little bit of both, but it'll probably be, I'm gonna guess, about 4 to 5 minutes or so.
Sweet.
Just to get the essence of the fish catches, just the beauty and scenery of it too, and also the story of getting there. So yeah, it's going to be a fun one, and got a lot of cool and unique things to make it kind of come together.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for jumping on there. Shredded Tines, appreciate it. Shredded Tines, thanks, man. So we're just talking a little bit about Tanner Cherney. He is the owner of Peak Productions up in Bismarck, North Dakota. We were just talking about his journey to the outdoors and creating a career in the outdoors, and his recent trip to Alaska and filming that story that he's going to have coming out soon. He's taking off to Canada next week. Tanner, tell us a little bit about your annual mule deer trip that you've kind of started this tradition now up in North Dakota with a couple buddies.
Yes.
Are you doing that again this year?
We are, you know, both. So you met Kelvin, and Kelvin and I, he kind of got me into the spot and stock mule deer hunting up here. You know, we got the Badlands in North Dakota, which are some of the most beautiful areas. I mean, for those of you that get to North Dakota, you have to get to the western part of it because that's where the true beauty is really at.
Okay.
And about 3 years ago, Kelvin took me out to the Badlands and kind of showed me a little bit out there. And ever since then, I've just gotten hooked. So we try to make a trip out there once a year. 2 years ago, we were the crazy guys that were out there the last weekend of archery season, which would have been like January 5th, 6th.
Little chilly?
It was. We slept in his 16-foot enclosed trailer. We had our cots and our four-wheelers. We had our big buddy heaters going. And the first night, wouldn't you know, our heaters went out. And we both woke up, and our noses, they weren't quite frostbit, but you felt like they were right there.
Yeah.
So we did that, which was an absolutely amazing trip. The first time we were out there, we ended up all in one day, we ran into the bighorn sheep, the elk, whitetails, and mule deer. Like everything you can see out in the Badlands, we saw that Saturday. And we saw a ton of deer. Never was able to close the deal on it, but you know how it goes with mule deer. You think you have them in the perfect spot, and one you didn't know was bedded 10 yards the other way is the one that spots you and spooks out. And so
get it setting up like that.
Yep. So we did that 2 years ago. Last year we went out for bow opener, which is usually over Labor Day weekend here in North Dakota. And me, Kelvin, and his buddy Brandon spent 5 days out there. Went a day early and did some scouting. And we had an absolute riot. We got within 11 yards the one day. We actually came over this little knoll on this two deer that we thought were there, and they sure enough were right there. So of course we drew straws, and this time it was not my turn. And we got up there, and the deer stood up after about 10 minutes of us getting up there, drawing back, letting go, drawing back, letting go. and Brandon was pretty excited, which I would have been in the same case too, and ended up shooting over him at like 25 yards, which you know how hunting goes. So
it happens.
It happens. You put one foot in front of the other, but it was one of those where it was like 90 degrees, like it usually is in August, September.
Right.
And so you got that window of an hour or two in the morning and right before dusk, and you hope you get them. And so, yeah, so Calvin and I are probably going to be going out there. September's looking a little crazy, so it's probably going to be closer to like December this year. But I always try to make it a point to get out there 2 to 3 times a year. I did my first solo hunt last year out there by myself. That was an interesting time. You get to learn a lot about yourself, and the biggest thing you take away from that is you have no one to rely on. Do I go to the next draw? Do I sit here? Do I completely pull camp and go another 5 miles down? What do I do? And
how many days were you out on your own?
3 days. 3 days and 3 nights.
Nice. That's awesome.
That's when I started vlogging, because of the fact that I needed someone to talk to while I was out there. So, of course, you don't have cell service, so I talked to myself.
Yep. So, what do you have any? Can you? And I don't know if you can share this or not. Do you have any other film trips planned for the fall? You said September's pretty crazy.
Yep. So I am going up to Sheboygan, Wisconsin, to do some salmon and walleye fishing filming up there.
Okay.
Hopefully a bow hunt or two out in the Badlands, and then my dad's got a big hunt coming up in October, end of October, again in November. We're going back to Colorado for his elk hunt again. So hopefully we can get him. Yes. We were out there this will be our 3rd year out there, and hopefully this year, knock on wood, will be the year that he can seal the deal, and I'll be right there with the camera to capture it. And I drew a North Dakota deer tag this year and just put in my antelope tag, so fingers crossed we'll see how those all go. Yes. I mean, a lot of those things, and then of course hoping to get a few good things in there with my dad and my dog Gage out pheasant hunting.
Of course, yeah, that's always the extra bonus stuff right there. So you had a lot of awesome vlog footage of that last year too, for anybody just trying to binge a little bit and catch up on a little bit of what you're doing. I'm really excited for this Alaska stuff for you to drop and the Canada trips. So sounds like you're getting crazy busy. Give us just a little insight, for anybody. One of the most common things I always hear is, hey, like, I want a job, or I want to work in the outdoor industry. Now, we can look at that in several different essences, but what would be your advice to somebody looking that has the dream of doing that? What would be your advice?
My advice would be there is no roadmap. I mean, I've had this conversation with many people. I've got a good friend of mine that runs, for those of you that like walleye fishing, Brett McComas has Target Walleye that he sends out bi-weekly emails on. And, we've talked about this too. Like you think of where you want to be, and you try to set up like a roadmap to get you there. And when you look back, nothing ever goes that way. It's the biggest thing in this industry would be, getting a starting point, whether you're in a marketing company or you're in one of the industry companies like a fishing lure or tackle company or a gun company, or even just a tourism destination. And that's just basically networking. The more people in this industry that you meet, the more you realize everyone there has the ultimate goal of wanting everyone else to succeed too, not just yourself. But I mean, once I went out on my own, I had so many people that I've developed relationships with the last 5 years in the tourism industry that are like, what can we do to help? How can we help promote things and that? So my biggest thing would be networking and just, going out of your way for other people, and they're going to do the same for you and help get you to the right leads and right people to get you going.
Right. I agree. And I think, there's a lot of opportunity out there for guys. Like, I really don't think they kind of see where guys are at right now, but they don't necessarily see that process and the years it took to get to where you're at, to take a giant risk to go out on your own. They don't really realize, like, the risk you're taking. You left a solid, very good job in the outdoor industry to go out and do your own thing in the outdoor industry. And it's like that for, I think, a lot of people. They don't really realize, the process and how many years it took you to build up to that point, to actually leave and do that. And it's kind of the same thing with Run To Gun or any other company. Like, I don't think people necessarily see that, hey, we've been at this for 7-8 years and we're nowhere near where we want to be. It's still that extra grind and that go and the goal setting and the process. But I think there's a lot of opportunity out there yet for guys who are looking to, and when I say guys, generic term, men and women, for me, I think there's a ton of opportunity for people out there to still start their own side businesses or businesses to enter that outdoor industry or enter that field, or even be able to do some part-time work for companies that are hiring in low hours, to just get your foot in the door, to, like what you said, to actually be able to network. Because once you be able to start meeting more people and doing that, and I think the biggest thing too is so many people in the outdoor industry, when they're starting, they're always asking so much from other people and other companies, where you don't have to have big name companies on board with you to make stuff happen. And actually, most of the time, communicating with a lot of these big name companies is a waste of time, because they're getting asked, literally they're getting 100 emails a day. And I think there's just a lot of, in my experience, a lot of wasted energy in doing that, and just watching people do that and making that mistake. Whereas if you were just to go brand yourself, brand your own company, and focus on giving value to your viewership, your following, it'll come full circle where brands that you aspire to work with, you'll have the opportunity to work with them through you branding yourself or your company.
That's exactly it. And it's just one of those things too, where you just never know who the next person next to you knows, where maybe they have a new door for you to open up, and that new opportunity that maybe you never had the chance to even fathom that it would work out that way. So yeah, don't think too big, think small, and just get your foot in the door and go above and beyond. And eventually it's all going to fall into place and kind of work itself through.
Dude, you nailed it. Like what you said is just, one of the things that we've always worked on since day one is giving more value than what somebody is paying us in, or what we're doing work for. Is just trying to, like, let's say somebody paid $1,000 for a sponsorship and commercial. We want to give them $3,000 worth of value, or more than that. You know, if you're going to put a money number on it, it's just like what you're doing out filming. Somebody pays you for a certain amount and they're expecting a value. You want to exceed that value and quality and experience, whatever it is. And that's just a big part, like, of giving. And when you give and you give and you give, and you can actually truly give without an expectation back, is when actually things that you didn't even think of seems to always come full circle and pay you back. It's always kind of neat that way.
It's one of those sayings I've always been told when I first started working in tourism, and it kind of sticks with me with a lot of things now, is under promise and over deliver. Always.
So first 6 months out on your own, dude.
It's scary.
What's it like for yourself?
It's scary, because when you wake up in the morning, you're like, well, it's either I do it or it's not going to happen, and you just gotta get after it, and it's you have no one to rely on except yourself. So it's great because of the opportunities you get to explore, and someone calls you and says, hey, can you be out here next week to come film this for us? Yes, you can do it. But then you could be sitting there for 2 or 3 weeks thinking, well, when's the next call going to come, or who's the next person I'm going to try to reach out to and see if I can't get something collaboration working, or however it may work out. But no, it's been great, but it's also it's not easy work.
It's long hours, and it's sacrifice. It's travel. It's tough, but I love how you are completely honest when you're like, it's scary. I've been working double time with owning a business, working full time there, and working full-time job for the last 6-7 years, and finally at the end of May decided, hey, no more anything else, 100% all run to gun. So we're on month 3 of living the terrified life. Is what you just said. It's scary when you wake up, but it's funny what you say is, like, it's scary, but you wake up and it's the best feeling in the world, because it's all on you. It's either like, hey, I'm either good enough or I'm not. And at this point, it's like, I love that challenge within myself to, hey, you're going to go for it. You're good enough or you're not. And if you get to a point in your life where, you know, I always thought I would get to a monetary number with Run to Gun that I get to before I could quit working over here as well. And I finally realized, like, as long as I'm giving energy over here to something just to pay the bills, I'm never going to reach that monetary number, because it always changes. It could change year to year. And so finally I just got to this point where I'm like, dude, I'm just done with this. If I would just give 3 months of my 80 hours a week that I'm already giving just to this versus 40-40, what could you accomplish, you know? And so at some point you just got to take the risk and go. And if you fail and you're not good enough, who cares? Like, you truly didn't fail if you fail, if you get something out of it. And so it's just, I think part of it is just, you just can't care. You can't care what other people think. You can't care, you know, if I mess up, what are other people going to think? You you got to get past that side of it and go for it.
You're already 95% ahead of the rest of the people because the rest of the people are always thinking about making that plunge and they don't always necessarily take it. And like, there's a couple podcasts I listen to and they always talk about, you know, what's the worst thing that happens if things go super south and turn sour real quick? Like, you can always go get a job somewhere, which I don't ever want to think about because, you know what, I don't want to have the mentality like, I'm going to make it work, it's going to happen, but there's always something to back up on.
Dude, no, that statement's 100% true because you literally can. You can always go get another job. Like, you can leave your job. You can probably even go, if you're good at it, you can likely go back to it. If you leave well, like, there's a good chance you can go back to that or something very similar. And dude, you can go stock shelves at Walmart at night and get paid. It's $16 an hour. Like, there's something out there you can go do. But at this point, it's like, just go take the risk. Just go do it. You know, and for, like, there's no better time.
You truly got to want it and you got to be hungry for it, and then that'll happen.
Yep. And like you said, it takes work because there's nobody else there doing it. You can't delegate your workload onto a coworker or a teammate or whatever. It's on you. Which is pretty awesome.
There's no sending an email saying, hey, can you help me with this? I'm running out of time. It's like, well, I better work an extra hour now because I'm not going to be able to get this done in the next 20 minutes, but it needs to get done. Or you might have a client that's not happy or it's all on you. Yep,
exactly. I love it, dude. Well, hey, you have a ton of film to lay down this year of other people. You have your mule deer tag, okay? You actually have two, right? You have your archery and your rifle then?
Yep. My rifle is a whitetail, and then my archery will be either or. So archery will be mule deer, and rifle will be whitetail. Okay, so you got 2 hunts of your own, plus a little bit of the pheasant hunting that you and your dad, your dog Gage, always do. And anything else that you hope you're going to get, maybe besides your dad's elk hunt? But anything for you? Anything else that you get to hunt? Depending on how the lottery goes, but I have 5 points in North Dakota this year for antelope, so I'll keep my fingers crossed and maybe draw an antelope tag. But those. How's that look with 5 points? It's so up and down. I would say probably like a 40% chance. So you're saying there's it's not terrible, yeah. So you're saying there's a chance. That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, hopefully you can pull that. That'd make for a pretty sick year. You'd be busy as heck from middle of August all the way till end of December. It would be game on. Pedal to the metal. For sure, dude. You're gonna be so tired come February. But then there's ice fishing. I know, and then there's ice fishing, which is like that's man. You guys fish more than anybody I know. Like, I love it, dude. Like, I can't wait to. Me and my brother can't wait to get back up there. It's some of our favorite time when we get to hang out. It's gonna be a blast. I actually get antsy if it's been like 2 or 3 weeks and I haven't been out of water because it's just one of those things that's in your blood. Like, you got to get out there, and even if you don't get a fish or anything like that, you're still out there and just enjoying it. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. 100% agree, man. 100% agree. Anything else you want to leave us with? Basically, just check my website out and the social channels because in the next, hopefully, 6 to 7 months, there'll be some great content coming out of there. And, you know, not only is it going to be people that I'm filming, but you get to experience what they're doing. Just like watching your show and seeing you guys out there, like, it puts me right into those steps. It makes me start thinking about, you know, getting my dad out in that hunt. Like when I started out in New Mexico, that's what it's truly about and what I love to see. So hopefully everything stars aligned. The next 6 months are going to be great. And there'll be a lot of really neat and exciting and driven content to draw you guys in. Awesome, dude. I'm stoked. Make sure everybody check out Tanner Cherney. His Instagram handle is at Peak Productions LLC, right? Yes, am I right correct. On that, Tanner? And the website will be gopeakpro.com. Gopeakpro.com. Film hopefully dropping next week on Alaska. Hopefully that's enough. Get some people drawn in, and then just watch for all of his content over the next 6 months. You guys know how crazy September through January is for guys like us, and the amount of content that can be popping. So a lot of fun stuff. Get you amped up, keep you motivated, and add Tanner Cherney, Peak Productions social channels to your watch list because I think it's gonna be well worth it. So, Tanner, We're going to have some exciting times.
I know you're busy as heck, man. I appreciate you taking the time today to jump on. Thanks for getting through our audio struggles here.
No worries. Thanks for inviting me on here.
Yeah, we need to do it again, especially we get it midway through fall or something. If we get 30 minutes somewhere where we're just traveling or something, let's jump on again, just catch up and talk about how our fall is going. And
absolutely.
Keep the excitement going, my man.
Absolutely. You too, Jordan. Looking forward to seeing what you guys crank out this fall.
Dude, I'm excited. We're weeks away. It's
knocking at the door.
Training every night, training every day, archery. You got to get in the, it's like now it's not skipping the days in between. It's like you got to get a few reps in daily, even if it's only 9, 12 arrows.
Yep.
Because we got a lot of archery coming up here in the next few weeks. We're 31 days away from New Mexico archery elk. We're less than that for a little bit of South Dakota archery. Man,
it's game time.
I have a feeling it's going to be a challenging year, but one of those years that's just going to be like just rock on memorable, man. Like I'm just super stoked. Positivity is up there. So I can't wait. I just can't wait to get more content out at a higher scale than we've ever done, because now it's not a pseudo 100% towards run the gun. It's a legit 100%. And you know how that goes too. It's like you're 100% at your own. It's no like you thought you were at 100% before, and now you're at 100%.
Now you're running in all gears and everything is straight that.
Dude, and it's funny because it's like you can get less rest, but the energy is so much different. So much better. It's awesome. It just pumps me up talking to guys like you. I just get jacked up. I'm glad you're one of my friends, man. I just want people to see your stuff because it's exciting, it's fun, and it's what everybody in the sense they should experience, having a guy come out like you and follow them and document some great memories, whether it's by themselves, whether it's with a family member, whatever that is. It's just well worth that documentation, documenting those moments in time. Well worth it. Just do it. Reach out to Tanner. He's worth it. So
hey, I appreciate the kind words, Jordan.
For sure. Dude, stay in touch. We'll be talking.
We will, for sure.
We'll get this recorded and up on our YouTube and our podcast. You can check out the Run to Gun Live Beyond Average podcast on almost all major podcast platforms. So we'll get that hopefully up later tonight. We'll get this all screen recorded and the audio up and going. So thank you, everybody, for jumping on with us. Thank you, Tanner. We'll talk soon, man.
Thank you.
See ya.
See you later.